there last
So,
night.
yeah, I was gonna think.
Good evening. Thank you for attending our board meeting tonight. I'm going to open the FY 25-26 revised budget public hearing meeting at 7:12. The purpose of this public hearing is an opportunity to present the FY 25-26 revised budget for consideration of the residents and taxpayers of the Vail School District and meet all reporting requirements established by the Arizona Auditor General's Office. This budget was presented to the governing board on July 8th, 2025, and will be presented during the regularly scheduled board meeting for action. Are there any public comments? Not seeing any, then I will close the FY 25-26 revised budget public hearing meeting at 7:13. With that, I will call our regular governing board meeting to order at 7:13, and I will invite you to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our next item is the approval of minutes for the governing board meeting on August 12th, 2025, as presented. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Seconded.
Anderson and Mr. Buster. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. We'll move on to general functions, and our first item is staff, student, and community recognitions. Mr. Kruth.
Thank you, President. Thank you, President Pratt and members of the board. I was playing nose goes with the audience to see who was speaking from the group. So, Joe, would you has a special announcement regarding an upcoming event?
Good evening, President Pratt, members of the board, and Superintendent Carew. I wanted to personally invite you all to Vail Family Connections Day 2025. This year, Vail Family Connections Day will be held on September 13th at Micah Mountain High School. We will start the day with a quick breakfast that's sponsored by Oasis and Living Branch Churches. And this will be followed by Ben Spell's speaker, Autumn Rentmeister, who will be sharing a special message of practical ways that we can share kindness and spread kindness in our community. Then we have 2 educational and hands-on breakout sessions with topics like the anxious generation, prepping your child for post-secondary success, let's build, and a good one called Survivor, Desert Garden Edition. Which I probably need personally. And then lastly, everyone is invited to participate in our Fun Fest, where schools, our faith community, and our business partners will have games and activities for all ages. Lunch will be served, and all of this is free. And just another example of how the Vail School District is working to choose connections.
Thank you. While the invitations are being passed out, I'll also just take the moment to say that this is also choosing connections with our faith-based groups and our religious leaders. We partner with them to make this event happen. The proceeds that we receive from rent for churches go into supporting this day as well. So,
Callie wanted me to mention that we have one huge change this year. The Fun Fest will be inside. So we're taking over Micah Mountain, and it will be inside the peak, like I just made Jen's night.
You did.
I know. So a few switches in a couple of what the Fun Fest activities will be, but it will be inside in hopes that everyone will stay longer and have more fun.
thank you, Ms. Simmons.
Thank you.
Also up for recognitions this evening, we have Ms. Lainey Kitzmiller, followed by Mr. Dean Norris.
Good evening, Mr. Caruth, President Pratt, and members of the governing board. Esmond Station is grateful in so many ways for our staff and our community and the support of our students. I wanted to recognize 3 different groups that have really helped us to start the year off in a good way. So Sarah Gideon is our art teacher, and she partnered with our PTO recently and did our first ever paint night. We had about 75 students and parents and some staff that came to paint a desert landscape. And it was just a fun, creative night for everybody involved. I also wanted to thank our kindergarten team in welcoming our newest Iron Horses to Esmond Station and helping their parents and them with that transition. So that team is Karma Lewis, Tennyson Butler, Clarissa Pond, Monica McKelvey, Pilas Curlin, and Gwen Pennington. So thank you for our kinder team for working with our kinder families. And then I wanted to highlight our middle school ELA and math teachers. That is Christy Reller, Jake Bullington, Tara Finn, Claudia Rangow, Amber Gaston, Susan Brazel, Melissa Dwyer. They have worked with Erin Raybuck, our student achievement teacher, and we've taken some time this summer to revamp how we do our reteach and how we do our remediation in a way to best meet the needs of all of our students. And there's been some growing pains as we made this transition, but they reflect after each week to make sure we're catching all the students that need those extra supports, and we're making sure we're communicating with their families. So I wanted to take a minute and appreciate all of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Skitzmiller. Mr. Norris.
Good evening, President Pratt, Superintendent Caruth, members of the board. At Rincon Vista, I'm really fortunate to have quite a few staff members who step up when there's a time in need and come together for do what's best for our Roadrunner students. So I'm gonna highlight a few specific staff members that have done that so far this year. First of all, I want to highlight Amanda Calkins. She is a 7th grade science teacher. We unfortunately had an unexpected 7th grade science vacancy on the other team, and Amanda stepped up. And so I want to recognize her for her dedicated work in supplying sub-plans for the 7th grade science teacher on that other team. In addition, there was also a unexpected vacancy in the math teacher on her own team, and she helped provide reteach enrichment plans for the sub that's been in there as we continue to look for a permanent replacement. To help solidify the instruction that's being provided to the 7th grade students for math, I've had 3 other math teachers step up and during their plan period are teaching core classes. And those 3 teachers are Allie Berg. She's doing 2 classes, 2 core classes for us, Shakina Richards and Corey Baca. And they were amazingly very willing to step up and do that for us. I also want to recognize Corey Baca for stepping in and fulfilling the ITL duties for her team at the beginning of the year. The ITL for her team is Dane Wirtz. He missed the first couple of weeks because of paternity leave. He is a brand new father. And so Corey attended our ITL retreat. She had a new team member who she got squared away and just did everything that she could to get her team started off on the right foot for the beginning of the year. I also want to recognize our amazing front office team for their dedication and positivity in launching another great year. The ladies in our front office are absolutely incredible. So specifically, Amy Mazinski for preparing classroom materials and supporting our SAT with data analysis. Cindy Kuhneman for her warm smile, compassionate ear, and accurate attendance tracking. Sarah Taylor for her friendly, welcoming presence and help with attendance and volunteers. And then Jerlene Franco for updating returning student registrations and enrolling 30 students, brand new students, in just 4 days before the school year started. Last but not least, I want to recognize Jen Ramos, who is one of our 6th grade ELA teachers, and Chelsea Morin, she's our school counselor, for running our web orientation for our new 6th graders, helping get the 6th graders ready for their middle school career with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Norris. I have a few other district-wide recognitions, and wish Mrs. Wells would have stuck around here for a couple of these. This past Saturday, in partnership with Rincon Valley Optimist, Ms. Wells and our student service coordinators and counselors identified 110 students who are in need, and they met at the Skechers outlet, provided a new pair of shoes to them. It's a wonderful event. I also, this weekend, and I'm sure both of these may come up in board reports, the Airmark Junior Chef Competition occurred at Micah Mountain High School, and 20 students participated in that. I was unable to attend that event, but I did participate in the winning chili this evening, the pumpkin chili, and it was pretty amazing. So I just want to recognize the partnerships that we have in our community that help support our families that we all serve. We serve them when they are students in our buildings, and we link arms with community members to ensure that those families are strong when they're not in our schools. So thank you to those folks. Also want to just recognize that this last week, we learned that Tiffany Newton from Andrada Polytechnic High School is a chemistry teacher, received the American Chemical Society 2025 High School Chemistry Teacher of the Year for Southern Arizona. So I believe that's the first official Toady Award that we've received this year. And if you happen to cross your fingers and cross your toes today, we had both Miss Rochelle Port and Miss Christy Parks interview for Arizona Teacher of the Year in the top 10. So we should know shortly whether they made the top 5. That ceremony will take place, I think, October 18th when we get back from break. That's all I have for staff, student, community recognitions this evening.
Yeah. Our next item is call to the public and acknowledgement of public requests to speak. At this time, I don't have any requests from the public to speak. Is there anybody wishing to address the board tonight?
I have a question. I have an email.
Yes, sorry. So she responded to me.
Okay.
She was able to talk to
Mr. Hurley.
Mr. Hurley and got her questions answered, and then she responded back that she did not want to come. Yes. Thank you for checking on that. Our next item is the superintendent's report. Mr. Kruth.
Thank you, President Pratt and members of the board. Just quickly want to note that the Joint Site Council meeting is coming up September 16th. It's our annual opportunity to meet with our critical folks, our community members, and parents who serve on our site councils. And we'll do a district overview and get their feedback on kind of the general direction we're heading. Also just want to take that opportunity to highlight the importance of site councils at our respective schools and the roles that they play in helping to lead those respective schools. Also, I just want to note, and this kind of tangentially related to schools, but the Regional Transportation Authority has been looking to formalize a plan over RTA Next for the last several months. It's been everything from dead to maybe alive. I've been participating with a small group, just looking at it from what the lens of the school district needs in transportation, not in any way advocating for whether or not it should go forward, but just regardless of how it's funded, the need for roadway infrastructure funding in our region, in particular, the widening and improvement of Marianne Cleveland Way to 4 lanes from Houghton all the way through to Colossal Cave, and the widening and overpass of Colossal Cave over the railroad tracks all the way to Camino Loma Alta. So I've participated in a couple of those meetings and just advocated on our community's behalf, along with Chief Tucker from Rincon Fire and a few others, and noticed that yesterday the board approved that to move forward. So I don't know whether or not that'll happen, but just something that we're paying attention to strictly from a safety standpoint and moving parents around our school district, and the fact that we run somewhere between 70 and 80 bus routes a day. In the current growth that's projected in our region, having regional transportation funded somehow, but however that is, or it means is a critical importance. And so just wanted to note that I'm participating in that. That's all I have for staff, student, community, or excuse me, for superintendent's report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Kruth. Next item are board reports. Are there any board members wishing to make a report tonight? Let's do that. No? Mr. King? Sure. No?
I don't have great friends. Yes, nobody else is here. I did attend a professional development down in Texas on governance and a little bit of governance procedures for a week. That's why I wasn't at the last board meeting. While I was down there, I actually took part in flood recovery efforts down there in Kerrville, Texas. So showing that some pictures down there. And it was actually a little overwhelming, realizing that where I was standing a few weeks prior had been 20 feet underwater. And they were still digging things out. They were actually digging out like trailers from underneath the water in their entirety. It's nice to know that they actually recovered the last person. Additionally, attended the religious leaders lunch where we discussed various resources available to the community, which was really enlightening. And I'd like to thank anyways, for getting the information set up.
Other stuff?
And then I also attended and assisted with judging the 4th annual junior chef competition at Mountain Mountain. This year's secret ingredient was pumpkin. So, and we were joined by Chef Stephanie and Paige from Earmark, Leslie and Tina Source from the Tucson Tasty Show. Executive Chef CJ Ham from Saguaro Corners and Mulligans. Art Elman from Expert Restaurant Supply, Chef Robert with Ignite Distributors, Peggy Benson Runyon, Amy Della O, and the culinary students from Mica Mountain, some district staff and other staff from Mica Mountain, who all made this event even bigger than last year. Morgan Magger, 5th grader, won first place for elementary, and Elijah Andre won first place for middle school, and Juliana Short won first place for high school. You'll be getting some of their recipes. I was talking to Chef Stephanie, reading some of the recipes and said things. Also, we attend actually the chili tonight was actually one of the recipes from a 6th grader. So, and then we also today, earlier today, attended mandatory conference.
Thank you, Mr. Q. Other board reports? Mrs. Anderson.
Yeah, so I attended the religious leaders luncheon too and appreciated being able to discuss just needs and ways to help support as a community, families and students. Last night I attended the Vail High School Choral Festival, which was at Mica Mountain, and it had Empire, See Again, Mica Mountains choir programs. And so that was awesome just to see all 3 of their programs up on stage singing together. I think it was quite a picture. They each performed separately as well, but just to see all of them, they spent all day yesterday learning together and then performing together. And so, and other than that, as I've thought about like what I've done like in the last, or where I've been in the last couple of weeks, as I think about it, it's really as a parent, just being in lots of meetings and after school, like it's the beginning of the year and all of these, whether it's sports or fine arts or CTE, just starting the year. And I think I'm just so grateful for teachers and staff members, coaches that just provide opportunities for our kids. And I see the time and the love that they show my kids who represent our students in the school district. And I just want to give a shout out to just how grateful I am. So.
Yeah, Stephen?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to attend the choral festival last night. Just really fun to see everybody coming together and that mass of students singing together and filling up this giant space. It was a lot of fun. I think it builds so much camaraderie and community between students of the different programs and the staff members who help lead the students through that throughout the whole day. Just really enjoyed that collaboration. So I also want to send a shout out to our fellow board member, Chris King, for time he always makes himself available to attend such a variety of events and happenings in the school district, really supporting staff who are doing really amazing things and also being available to parents and all of that stuff. Remarkable. We're grateful that he's retired. gets to have that flexible schedule, and me and Mr. Buster both work. And also just want to send a shout out to Cindy Peterson for coming up with a system to help all of us board members keep track of all of the litany of events. that we've been invited to, and make sure that we remember to get to those things. Also, make sure that, of course, is posted if 3 of us do happen to be attending. So thank you, Mrs. Pierce. That's my report.
Thank you. Any other board reports? Mr. Buster?
I guess first and foremost, I had the opportunity to join these fine individuals next to me at the high school choral festival. And Voices of Angels, just one and all there, just phenomenal. And having the opportunity just to hear them and be in the moment with all the parents and staff and the audience, and everybody is just elated to the point where I think we had that mutual feeling that it was just too short. And so we were encore, hoping they would continue to sing. We didn't get our wishes, but that's okay. And I guess with that, I want to put out a shameless plug that the high school choral groups will be having a concert in September as well as in October. So I'm hoping all the friends and family and community members will come out to our high schools and enjoy the phenomenal talent that we do have in our district. Last but certainly not least, I guess I'm reaching out to all the educators and all our staff out there. We as a board, and I'm hoping I'm not just speaking for myself, but we as a board are really taken aback in regards to you like us, you really like us, and that we're invited to so many wonderful, incredible events and just to be a part of the district and what's going on, and whether it be teachers and educators and staff members, it's a beautiful thing to be invited to such great things that we do throughout the district, throughout our schools, and just get to be a kid and seeing these things come to life. I think I'm the only board member that doesn't currently have kids in the district, and you really make me feel like each one of the 15,000 kids are my own. So again, we can't get to everything, but we do sincerely appreciate and want to be at each and every one of the events. So thanks to you.
Thank you, Mr. Buster. I was able to attend the religious leaders meeting as well. I just want to say thank you to Mrs. Stow for leading that meeting, and just a thank you to everyone who attends and who just pours into our community and makes it a better place. I also want to recognize Nicole Witt. I did the second round of EAPs today, and she just deserves maybe a trophy, an award, I don't know what. Anyways, she's doing such a great job revamping that program, and just keeping, guardrails on it. And anyways, she's doing a great job. I also went to the transportation department this week with Mrs. Anderson to provide a charcuterie board to say thank you to them. That was funded by the communications department, and they did a ton of work for that. So I just want to say thank you to the communications department for helping make that happen, and also recognize all the staff at the transportation department, just to say thank you for everything you guys have done. And then I want to say thank you to Juan Siscamani. He came and visited Corona Foothills Middle School, and it is just the funnest thing to see these middle school students just be so excited to see Juan Siscamani. And there was one student who had a shirt, he had handmade it the night before, and I think it said "I heart Juan Siscamani" or something like that was painted off the shirt. It was just amazing. And all the kids were just so excited to shake his hand. You would think that we had a celebrity in the room. It was just, the kids just responded so warmly. It was really cool to see. So I know he has a very busy schedule. So I just want to say thank you to him for coming to visit our schools. So with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. All items listed below are consent matters and will be considered by one motion at this time. There'll be no discussion of consent items. Any board member may remove an item from the consent agenda by request. All items not accepted and approved as part of the consent agenda will be considered individually. Are there any board members who wish to pull an item? No? Mr. Ruth?
Thank you, President Pratt. Members of the board, it's recommended that the Vail School District Governing Board approve all items on the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion.
Motion to approve as presented.
Mr. Buster and Mr. King. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. We'll move on to new business. Our first item is the FY 25-26 revised budget. This is an action item. Mr. Griffith.
Thank you, President Pratt, Ms. Lenhart.
President Pratt, Mr. Pruitt, members of the board. Tonight, what we present before you is the first revision for fiscal year 2025, 2026. The reason for this revision is because when we did a proposed and adopted budget, the forms, the finalized forms were not complete by the Arizona Auditor General's Office and the Department of Education. So once they were complete, we had until September 15th to bring a revised budget back to the board for approval. And we have to have it submitted to the state by September 18th. In doing that revision, we do see an increase in our maintenance and operation budget of about $2.9 million. The reason for that increase is because part of what the legislature had done is they did an increase of 2% to our base support level, which brought in about $2.1 million. They also reinstated the Prop 123, which is additional assistance to the district, which is a little over $1 million. They reinstated the free and reduced price lunch allocation that we received. And then also for our capital, they did the district additional assistance. And then we just had a chance to evaluate our carry forward that we project for fiscal year from 25 to 26. And with all those changes collectively, we saw about a $2.9 million increase to our M&O budget. On the sheets that were provided, anything that's bolded was where we made changes, mainly in the salaries and benefits lines for this fiscal year. You know, we're working really close with human resource to really monitor all of our positions. We had some conversations during a study session about just making sure that we're staffing our schools and making sure that we're meeting all of our criteria that we wanted to this year. So with that, do you have any questions?
Are there any questions? No, this was. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, why don't I go ahead and make the recommendation? It's recommended that the Vail School District Governing Board approve the budget revision number 1 for the 25-26 fiscal year as presented.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion.
So
Seconded.
Mr. King and Mr. Buster, are there any comments or questions? I know this was studied at the study session.
I am really pleased that the additional assistance carried forward this year. I think that was a really helpful surprise. Just say that.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I've got, just to add, it just as a general statement, Ms. Lenhart described it, but 2 things. One, large part because the legislature didn't wrap up their business until very late. So that's why we're having it so early. But 2, it's just also an indication that a budget is a living document. It's a living process. It's not a fixed process. This is also an indication that our projections and targets are well on track and we're in good shape.
Any other comments or questions?
I would, just again, I know I'm just being a broken record, but thank you. You have eagle eyes, you count every penny, these are taxpayer funds, and inevitably I don't think anybody could ever argue with how well you track every expense, every piece, every cent that comes into the district or leaves the district. You have eagle eyes on it. So thank you for spending the money and spending it so well. And tracking the money so well.
I agree with Mr. Buster. Thank you so much for doing such a great job of that, also explaining it to us. So taking that time.
We have a great financial services team.
You do, yeah. So if there's no other comments or questions, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any. The motion carries. Thank you. Our next item is a study item. It's the high school literatures.
Yep, Mr. Hurley.
President Pratt, members of the board, Superintendent Cruz. We're excited to bring back some high school literature committee things. It's been quite a long time, so just wanted to go through real quickly the process, just so that everyone remembers that there is a process and it is a long journey for books to get to us. Teachers will bring it to their department heads. The department heads will work through the principals. Then it is brought to our committee, which comprises teachers, department heads, administrators from every school. At least 2 of those people read it, and it is discussed vigorously. Only if the book leaves that committee with consensus is it brought to you, but we bring it to you for inform items so that people can see it, the public can see it. We've also included an attachment with the books, with a summary of the books, with a Lexile level, if it's applicable, and with what we're determining is mature content or potential hotspots, so that there's just transparency in the process, and let's see what we're bringing.
This is a study item. The books are there for review. We can answer any questions.
Yeah, are there any comments or questions? This is Erica.
I know we studied this earlier, and in that process, who of you said it goes through? I thought before sometimes site council looked at it. Is that also the case?
Questions?
Thank you, Ms. Pratt.
Is that
Mr.
still the
Hurley.
case?
Yes, it does go to the site council. You are correct. It goes to the site council after, when does it go to? After you approve it, then each site decides if they want it to be available at their site.
So previously, they had gone to site council and then come to us because that's questions we had asked. So did it change? Because I know before we'd ask like, what was site council's feedback?
We'll double check on that. I believe that some of the titles would go to them for if there was concerns before they came here.
Okay.
Mr. Hurley?
Yeah, I believe that I was incorrect. And as I remember my notes, it has been several years since we've done this.
Yeah.
After we come to a consensus, then the book is taken to the site council. The site council has an informant and time for them and parents to give input, and then the lists are brought to you. So yes, they've been brought to site councils, but it was.
And not at high school level.
Yes, just at high school. So they've been brought to the site councils to review. So, but yes, site councils didn't see them before they came here.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. King?
Wow, I should have asked this earlier. Since this is considered curriculum, does this actually belong to the
It does not. These are considered the not ancillary, but they're not official textbooks. They're support materials, so they just come from us.
Do you have a follow-up? Any other comments or questions? Mr. Buster?
Just a point of information in regards to, you referenced the Arizona law for scrutinizing potential inappropriate materials. Could you tell me what that law is again?
Certainly, there are 2 laws that
Please.
pertain to this. One is ARS 15-113, which is the rights of parents to opt out of anything that they feel contains profane or vulgar language or other things that they want to opt out of. And then there is 15-120.03, which is the one about sexually explicit materials. Or again.
And again, in regards to the opt-in or opt-out for parents or even students, do we reference both of those laws in that opt-in or opt-out?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Hurley.
That is a really good question. I am certain that we should. And so I will double check and see what we do in our syllabus. I know the teachers list in their syllabus, these are the books that we're going to read, and here's the hotspots and those things. So I would make sure that we do that if they're not. I'll double check on the process. It's good.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I have a quick question. I know at the start of this school year for my own son, I got a permission slip. What I don't remember, I know that it had hotspots on there, but what I don't remember is if it had a section to talk about significance, like why do you want to teach this, or what is important about this. And I saw in the study session that when teachers submit it, there is a section for that. Do you know if there's any section for that to talk to parents about it?
You are correct. There is part of the application process is the teacher justifies why they think it's educationally viable, what standards it will teach, but we do not require them to share that with parents.
Okay.
We can suggest that would be helpful, but that's not something that.
I think, I mean, just sharing my feedback, I think it is, as a parent, when I'm trying to weigh, if I feel uncomfortable about something or a little, unsure, understanding like the context of why either the literary value or what they're trying to teach would be valuable. So if that's a possibility, it could be helpful. Any other comments or questions? No? All right, and this is a study item, so we will see you again on this. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to item C, enrollment update, also an inform item, Mr. Groot.
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board. Ms. Dabney.
Thank you, President Pratt, Mr. Cruz, the members of the board. Well, we are about halfway through our first quarter. And with that, it's hard to believe that, but with that, we have a pretty good understanding of where we're at enrollment wise. And so just to share with you some of the things that we're seeing, some of the trends that we're seeing, some of the benchmark numbers that we aim for when we're talking about enrollment and where we kind of fall within that. So first off, we're in a really good position in our district with enrollment. And as Mr. Cruz discussed during our study session, there's really kind of two things that play into that. One is out of our control, but we are in an area of growth. As we all know, we drive around our community and it's very easy to see. But 40% of all new home permits in unincorporated Pima County are for Vail. So we are growing, we have homes being built, and that definitely is a factor when it comes to enrollment. And then the other aspect that we can't control is the quality of our schools. So those two things combined, we're in a really good place as a district with our enrollment. However, when you look at national trends and statewide trends, that's not necessarily the case. So nationally, we have a situation where there's declining birth rates, and because there's declining birth rates and other different factors, more choice and whatnot for parents and where they want to send their children to school. We know that nationally there is also a trend of declining enrollment. In fact, there's only 10 states that have enrollment that is increasing. 40 states that have declining enrollment. Arizona is in a situation of declining enrollment as a state. So it's a national issue. It's definitely a statewide issue. In the state of Arizona, you can see in the graph that we have flatline enrollment up through 2023. And if that were to extend, we'd start to see a downward trend. The enrollment projections by the Auditor General's Office and by the Joint Legislative Budget Committee were higher than what enrollment is actually shaping out to be. So it's definitely a situation where there's a lot of districts that are having to grapple with what to do because of declining enrollment. Whether it is aging communities, low birth rates, more choice for families. It is pretty widespread across the state. And just some examples of recent news articles of districts that are having to figure this issue out. And another district that I don't have a news article, but it was just announced this week is the Deer Valley School District up in Phoenix, which is in the top 5 largest school districts in the state, are having to completely redo all of attendance boundaries because they have schools that are under capacity and they have schools that are over capacity, but because of aging communities and all of those things, they're trying to redo attendance boundaries to balance out their enrollment, but they're also facing a declining enrollment situation. So the largest school district in the state is having to lay off staff because they're down 3,500 kids. So it's definitely a significant issue. And we're fortunate in Vail because when you look at our projection and where our current enrollment is at, we're in a good spot. So we're above our January projection by about 220 kids, which means that we're adequately staffed. We staffed our schools appropriately, and we're right where we want to be in terms of that enrollment. The January projection is one of the factors, one of the metrics we use when we're looking at how we're doing with our staffing, with our enrollment, with our projections. In this graph, you can see we have some of our sites that are over their January projection. We have some of our sites that are under. If a site was within 10 students above or below, I left them off. We know also that our high schools tend to have their enrollment balance out as the year progresses. But overall, we are in a really great spot with that January projection. We also look at how our school enrollment is balancing out in terms of the efficiency capacity of our schools and the overcrowded threshold. So our schools have a design capacity, then they have an efficiency capacity where if all of the spaces in the school are used, if the classes are at capacity, they're able to do the programming that the school needs to do and wants to do. It's when they're operating at kind of that max efficiency. We have a number for that. We also have a number for when a school is considered and hit that overcrowded threshold. So how are we doing with enrollment in terms of those two numbers? So we have it broken down by elementary schools, by K-8, and by high school. So our efficiency capacity is larger than the design capacity, because once a school is built, you often find spaces that you can use that necessarily wasn't planned into the design of the school. So for example, at Desert Sky in the NPR, there is kind of like a back storage closet. It's not really a closet, but that was what it was initially designed for. But it's big enough to do different things with students in. So that over the years has been an orchestra classroom. It's been used for different things. So when we're talking about that efficiency capacity, we can build that space into this number. So the efficiency capacity is a little bit higher than design capacity, but it's if we're operating and using the peak efficiency using all of the space available. So Acacia is very, very close to that efficiency capacity, and they're pretty close to their overcrowded threshold. And then you can look down at all of our schools. The underlying message with this is, although we're in a really good spot because we're hitting our January projection, we're above our January projection, in our elementary schools, we have space. And we have the ability to handle the growth that's occurring right now. We have space available to us. At our K-8 schools and Bell Academy, same kind of situation. We have space there. Okay. At our high schools or our middle schools, same situation. We have space. Okay, we're hitting our January projection, but we're not busting at the seams. We're not hitting our overcrowded thresholds there. At our high schools, we also have space, with the exception of Micah Mountain High School. Micah Mountain High School, we're at our overcrowded threshold. But our other high schools, we do have space. Okay, so that's kind of the underlying picture and kind of those baselines that we look at when we're looking at enrollment. Some of the different trends, our kindergarten enrollment has been up for the last 3 consecutive years, which is a great trend to see. We went through a time where we had our kindergarten enrollment declining, so that's going back up on the upswing. Our cohort growth has been about 44 students from grade to grade, which is also a really encouraging sign. We're up 150 students net from year over year, which is also a really good sign. Although we have net growth, that net growth over the last 3 years has gotten smaller. So that is a trend that we're watching. We also have another trend that we're watching, is that we have an influx of students that join us at the high school level as freshmen that are Vail students. They live within the Vail attendance boundaries, but they weren't students enrolled in our middle schools. They may have been enrolled in previous times, but they weren't in our 8th grade cohort. So they come to us as freshmen and they live within our attendance boundaries, but we weren't accounting for them when we were looking at what students were expecting to roll over into high school. The 5-year average of that is about 112 students. This past year was 171 students. So pretty big group of kids. And then the other trend that kind of alluded to in that last slide is that our Micah Mountain High School transportation zone is filling that school to capacity. So there is work on the way to help solve that issue, to bring a recommendation forward to a potential solution to that issue. because they are at that point where we need to look at doing something a little bit different, and balance out that high school capacity a little bit better. So those are the trends that we're seeing. We're in a good spot. We're really fortunate because that's not the case across the state. It's definitely not the case across our neighboring districts. I think, in fact, in Pima County, we're the only school district that's still growing. Marana's right there on the cusp, but we're pretty solid with that. And you know, that new home permit is something that could change at any time. So obviously, the enrollment data we need to keep a really close eye on. So any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Tim. Before mine, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions?
I guess probably an offhand question in regards to, I love the fact that we are constantly evolving and we're finding creative areas for utilizing the existing space. So any school is originally designed for a certain amount of square footage, so on and so forth. And then, of course, the effective space for education. But finding places and spaces for education programs, activities, phenomenal. How often do we go through an evaluation process to reevaluate schools to find extra capacity?
That's it. Thank you, Mrs. Pratt, Board Member Buster. That is always an ongoing process, driven at the site level, usually with the principal involved in Mr. Wood in our facilities department. It occurs when we have an uptick in enrollment at a site. It occurs when a principal or a staff member on that site has grand ideas for a program or something that they want to see implemented, and they need a space for that. It's a constantly evolving process, and we did our leadership meeting at Desert Sky Middle School. We rotate our leadership meetings around today, and we were in the library, and Desert Sky is in its 25th year as a school, and there was a classroom built in that library that did not exist when that school was open. And for that purpose, that's an example of many that we see happen regularly. Mr. Wood can tell you our facilities folks have the ability to move some of those spaces around and be pretty flexible with it, both in creation and taking it out. So we do that in a way that's pretty flexible.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know that there's a specific formula, if that's what you're asking. It's really how many students do they have? What are the spaces and what's programming? That drives it.
I just love that it's ongoing. It's
Yes.
not, we reach a certain threshold. Now it's time to think about space allocation and being efficient. It's ongoing and it's a living thing, especially that you give that authority and that lenience specifically to our principals to, again, redesign based on the need of the school. Excellent.
So we discussed this in the study session, but I think it's important to have that conversation here in our meeting. We are over capacity at Micah Mountain. So does that mean we are ready to build phase 2 of Micah Mountain? Good question.
Thank you, Mrs. Pratt and Board Member Tippett. The short answer is no, because we have two critical reasons. One, we have space at our other high schools, and so we need to balance enrollment across those high school spaces before we can consider that, which leads to point 2, which we have to reach a certain crowded threshold across all of our high school space before we will qualify for funding from the state for additional construction dollars for new school facilities at the high school level, and we are under that threshold at this time. I don't know by exactly where we are relative to that number, but we are under that. So if we were to build space today to expand high school space, we'd have to do that all with local bond dollars, and frankly, we just don't have the capacity to do that. And nor would it be prudent. We really need to ensure that we've got reasonable, balanced enrollment across all of our schools, which is the task that Mrs. Dabney and I will be working with the committee on, looking at how can we help that process.
Thank you. Great question. Okay, any other comments or questions?
The anticipated group that will lead the charge in this direction, how will the group be made up? Of the different communities around these high schools or something other?
Thank you, Ms. Pratt, Mr. Buster. Ms. Dabney?
Yes, thank you, President Pratt, Mr. Caruth, and Mr. Buster. So the committee is made up of site council parents from our high schools and from our middle schools. And so all of the sites have 2 site council parents that will be serving on the committee. And then, of course, we have some principals that are also serving on that committee. So it's a pretty good cross-section of Vail, and specifically the families that are going to be impacted.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, thank you. If there's no other comments or questions, we'll move on. Buckle up. These are the most exciting ones. So we have ASBA policy advisories 810 to 818, a study item. Mr. Cruz.
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board. I'll forego further commentary, other than to say that the Arizona School Board Association is, and I think this is a good thing, rightfully going through each section of the policy manual A through K, and modernizing language, I think, and modernizing language, and then also looking at policies that can be combined or condensed in ways that make more sense. So the majority of well, I shouldn't say that, the policies that we've already brought forward were triggered by recent legislation and laws that were enacted. The next series of policies, and your buckle up is right, because these are comprise A and B only. These comprise not that, but really language changes. And so the substantive changes are very minor. Things like modernizing language for technology tools, looking at combining things that make more sense into one policy versus having 3 policies. And so anytime a policy like that is recommended to be condensed, the existing policies need to be recommended to be deleted. So I walked myself away for most of a day and pounded through 52 policies and cross-referenced them with our current policies, and that's what you have before you. In 2, I will cover kind of both of these at once in 2 separate policy actions. The first one is the one we're on currently, which comprises the policy section A, which is basically around government governance, and policy section B, which is similar, which will be the following. So these are, the first section covers policy advisories 810 through 818. You will notice that if you are reading through the notes, there's actually 809 it begins with, but we've already updated that one, which is our mission statement guiding principles. We updated that in 2019, 19, somewhere in there. And the board took action on those, so there's no need to bring that back. So this is a study item I also provided to you as part of the background, my notes, just so you can see kind of where things are, and if there was anything more substantive than a language change, I indicated that in my notes. So happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Riveting reads. Any questions? Mr. Buster.
Is there an opportunity to have ASBA and join and assist us with this particular development, and maybe even have a representative come down and present before the board?
Thank you, President Pratt and Mr. Buster. The short answer to that is yes. The longer answer is we've been in contact with them, and they've actually suspended that process with individual school districts at this time because their staff is currently going through section by section. In fact, I think yesterday I got section G. So they got to get to K first. And then their recommendation is that we review those policies and bring them forward to the board for consideration first. And then once we have done that process, then they'll resume coming down and walking through our policy and kind of looking at it policy by policy with us to cross-reference what we might have individually within our own board policies or suggestions that we might make. So that's kind of the timeline. So I know we had some conversation about maybe doing that this semester or sooner. I don't, based on our conversations and where they are with what they're working through, and I don't think that can happen until spring at the earliest. Maybe just logistically, it might even be next fall. We'll just kind of see where we're at. It's going to take us a while. So, frankly, I'm not being flip on this. It took me most of a day being quiet, which is a hard time for me to find, to go through the policies and kind of cross-reference on what the language is. And if it just takes our staff time to do that. And so if we're going to have to do that section by section to make sure that we're not throwing out something we shouldn't be throwing out, and that the language that they're suggesting is something that is something that we can move with. As I mentioned, most of the things are language cleanup, so it's not substantive in relative to the grounding laws that are underpin the policy.
Mr. Kruth, are we looking at an extended executive session in the spring, perhaps? Just preparing for that opportunity to review what you and staff are planning on to present.
President Pratt, Mr. Buster, we can do that if you would like to do that. I think the plan at this point is to just keep going through the policies, give you my notes, and kind of bring them forward section by section here. And then once we do that, the plan is to engage ASBA. They bring somebody down, actually. I've participated in that process. I don't date me, but at least 10 years ago. And they are here for about a week and go through each section by section with whichever of you good souls want to sign up with us to do that.
I nominate Chris.
and cross-reference the policies with what's there. I saw everybody reach for their nose, except for Chris. Yeah. So we can do that in a summary and executive. We can bring forward whatever results of that are, but it really is you have to put the two policy books out on the table or documents, whatever they are. I probably just dated myself on how long ago that was. Anyways, you have to really kind of cross-reference to make sure, okay, we didn't have that policy before. Do we want that policy? Do we need that policy? Is it grounded in law? Yes or no? And is there a legal basis behind that, or is it a good practice basis behind that? Yes or no? And then we keep it in or out. We do that A through K. If you want to wait a few more years. I'm joking. I'm happy to do that at any time. I am appreciative of where ASBA is in this process, because I think the language cleanup is something that's needed to happen for a little while. Frankly, just some of the language was dated.
Excellent. Thank you.
Do you have a question or comment?
No, I'm actually happy to participate in that. We'll see advisory.
Leave out for Kelly too.
Very good. Very thankful. All right, if there's no other comments or questions on this one, we'll move on to the next item. ASB advisories 819 through 862, also study item, Mr. Kruth.
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board. This is the same process as described in the previous agenda item. The only difference is that this is policy section B. And comprised the bulk of the changes. There's 40 some changes to policy there, but happy to go through any of them or review my notes with you should you like me to do that?
Are there any comments or questions? Mr. King?
I'd say it's almost all the bylaw changes that we're recommending for ASBA. So, well, there's more here than our bylaws. Bylaw change
Really? Yeah. Well,
this year.
Yeah. I feel really confident we're gonna get a quorum vote on ours, not as confident. that we're gonna- See.
Love to talk to.
I will say that the B is largely around board operations, and this section has a number of what I found to be good cleanup in regard to things like how agendas are suggested and created. I think the language was dated and it consolidated some pieces around that. It consolidated language around how board meetings are run and held, and clarified language. I think it's sometimes assumed that we use Robert's Rules of Order. We don't, but it lays out that language a little more clearly. We follow those things currently, but it just cleaned some of those up and consolidated them. It also talks about how policies are revised and reviewed and consolidated those things. So I think it just makes it a more user-friendly document, so to speak, when it comes to the operation component. So there's a secret part of me that actually kind of likes this stuff. It's just, I just need to be quiet when it's happening. So that's all I have.
Mr. Buster?
And just a point of information, so ASB has their own, as an organization, they have their own attorneys and legal counsel. Will our legal counsel get involved with this for a review or other?
Thank you, President Pratt and Mr. Buster. Only if we engage them on something that I think is necessary to engage them on. I mean, they use their attorneys, and the reason, and we have those conversations, and the previous section, as an example, there were some cleanup language around Title IX, and Title IX over the last 18 months has gone through 3 or 4 it was here, it was there, it was back here, somewhere here. And so we had our HR staff really look through and spend time and cross-reference those things. And ground it to the law. I mean, we can look at the law and say where that is. And if we've got questions, and our staff, in particular our HR staff, is I'll just use that as an example, engage our legal counsel all the time in issues regarding Title IX. So it's on track. And so the review was not something that felt like, oh, we need to take something we can see in the law and then take it to our attorney, who then vets it. The other thing ASBA does is they don't just use their own attorneys, they also use a group of statewide attorneys to go through and review kind of section by section. So more of it would be where ultimately you as a board, this is your one of the primary roles of being a board, a governing board, is to determine and approve policies. So ultimately it's up to this body to make those determinations, and we can take some liberties on some things as long as they're grounded in law, on what those are. We generally don't, just for consistency's sake, but there's a few areas where we do. And so if those things come up, they weren't in any of these 2 sections. That's why we need to go through and cross-reference what's in our current policy to here. So probably a longer answer than what you're looking for.
No, spot on. Thank you.
Do you have a comment or question? No. Okay, Mr. King?
Yeah, just for, and just to support to conclude here is that these are just the base policies. There will be district specific language added in, and to Jennifer's point, when it comes to board governance, board operations, and everything else, we are one of the school districts that doesn't use Robert's Rules of Order. There are some school districts that actually divert to that in the event something's not specifically spelled out in their board policies. So That's something that we would have to address when we put our specific one. So,
Thank you, Mr. King. Other comments or questions? Not seeing any, we'll move on to our very favorite agenda item, adjournment. I will accept a motion to adjourn at 8:16. Mrs. Tippett.
Second.
Mr. King, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. Thank you.